Morning, convening our 9:15 AM agenda for the three measures before us for the purpose of decision making. For these three measures, we'll be rolling them to the end of our 9:30 AM agenda as scheduled. Recess. Morning, convening our 9:30 AM agenda here in the Hawaii State Capitol on February 17th at 9:30 AM for the purpose of the House Committee on Transportation for the measures before us today. I just wanna thank our support staff that was working yesterday, even though they were off, to make sure we can continue to have robust dialogue here at the legislature, and to my staff as well. So for our first measure before us is HB 2347 relating to vehicle safety. Requires the Director of Transportation to adopt rules allowing for mobile vehicle safety inspections. Vice Chair for the testimony.
Department of Transportation with comments. Nicholas Wong in support. Please go up to the podium.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Nicholas Wong in support of this bill. And again, really just kind of in our mind, it's just a common sense bill just to give a little bit more options for safety inspections. Right now, they're tied to the actual physical location of the inspection. I think now we have the tablets that, mobile data, and we're able to do things a little bit more efficiently. Also, I think from the Senate bill side, they did have the amendments that this bill is intended just for passenger vehicles, not like the big trucks and commercial vehicles on that side. So thank you, appreciate you guys' time, and thanks again.
Thank you. Kenneth Shu in support.
Hi, good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. I'm just here just to voice my support for this bill. I think it's going to be really good for Hawaii State drivers to help alleviate some of the stresses involved with trying to get a safety check done at a physical location and giving them an option to do it at their home, anywhere else where is most convenient for them, will help save time, reduce stress for drivers, and give them time to spend with family or to do for more productive things rather than just waiting in line and then getting denied and then coming back. So just want to voice my support. Thank you.
Thank you. We also got 3 individuals in support. Anyone else online or in person wishing to testify on HB 2347? Seeing none, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any questions?
Simple question for either one of you two. Yeah. So as I understand, you guys support doing your safety check at home in your driveway.
Yes.
Okay. As a vehicle shop owner, repair shop owner who does safety checks, we're required to have a level cement driveway with headlight aimers. How would you guys have somebody check their headlights at home?
Yeah, so I think it's really gonna be, again, a little bit of I wouldn't say a learning curve, but again, there's gonna be a little bit of different things where it's not so much as, hey, drive into the shop with a flat level ground and go. It's gonna be, hey, the car needs to be moved to a flat level area, right? The inspector's gonna have to have the things with them to either, hey, again, if they do actually wanna lift the car, have the things to lift the car, have the things to check the headlights. And again, there's gonna be a little bit more of a, agreement between whoever is the owner of the inspection place and the person getting their car inspected to be able to actually hey, I need your keys, we have to move it to this flat area, we can do it here. Hey, if your garage is flat, hey, we can do it here. There's gonna be a little bit more of a, liability side of that's gonna be figured out by the companies, but again, it's not gonna be, hey, we're backwards on a hill, we're all good to go, sign check. And again, it is still gonna be tied in my mind to another entity, which is the director is able to hold accountable if these inspections are not being performed up to standard, yeah.
So, next question, Chair.
Yes.
Are you okay with giving up convenience for added cost?
I mean, in my mind, yes, it would be, there has to be some type of convenience cost for that inspector to drive there, right, to check everything and figure it out. And again, the person might be in a condo way up high and they have to go get the keys, come down, there is a convenience side that does need to be figured out and, kind of with the market to be figured out where that even lands.
So right now, safety check for a passenger vehicle costs $25 plus tax, depends on where you go. What do you think would be a fair price, or what do you think would be a fair number, or we could cap that at? Because I mean, we're going from 25 to, I would suggest, or I, excuse me, not suggest, I would guess somewhere in the area of upwards of $100.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that it would just kind of leave it to the market side of it, where if it's like, hey, if the guy, the inspector is in town and he needs to drive all the way to the west side, something, I would expect that would be a significant cost to that. As opposed to, hey, he needs to drive, just downtown next door or something, and he can grab a bunch of cars, then, there's a different price for that. I think really just kind of letting that market kind of figure that self out again, and then there's always still option of, again, going to the shop, right, and getting it done the regular way, right?
Alright, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is anybody from the Department of Transportation available for a question online?
Oh, yes, Chair, I'm here. It's
Deputy
Robin.
Shishido, I have a question. So regarding your safety check process, you folks, it's $5 is the administrative fee, and then the $20 is for the shop. Is that what is that?
I'm not sure the exact breakdown, but I know we recently increased it a little bit because when a new contract started, there was some additional costs from the previous. I think we go by 5-year contracts, so there
Okay,
was some additional administrative, but I'm not exactly sure of the breakdown.
can you follow up with me and I can let the committee know,
Okay.
please? And then my next question, when you folks are going through the different stores or shops that administer the safety checks, how do you folks audit the shop?
I think we go through their records, we inspect their shop, make sure they have the appropriate equipment. I can follow up with our motor vehicle safety office, get
Please,
better
if that's
executive
possible.
checklist.
Cause I
Okay.
think I know majority, right, of our safety check process. Because I also understand, right, that the vehicle taken to the safety check can be very much amended after for the purpose of that would then no longer be compliant with the road. But I
Mhm.
think there's often there's this complaint or folks know which operators scapegoat the safety check process to give the safety check. So I'm curious about that. So if you're able to follow up on that process and then the fee, I can just share that with the committee, please.
Okay, will do.
Okay, thank you, Deputy. Members, any further questions? Seeing none, I'd like to move on to our next agenda item before us, HB 1882, relating to motor vehicles, exempts motorcycles and passenger cars from safety inspections. Please share for testimony.
Department of Transportation in opposition on Zoom.
Hi, good morning, Chair, Vice Chair. Robin Steele with HDOT, and stand by our submitted testimony in opposition. Thank you.
Thank you. Hawaii Police Department in opposition. City and County of Honolulu Department of Customer Services in opposition. Grassroots Institute of Hawaii in support. And one individual in opposition. Anyone online or in person wishing to testify on HB 1882? Seeing that, Chair.
Thank you, members, any questions? Seeing none, I'd like to move on to our next agenda item, HB 2022, relating to motor vehicle registration. Specifies that the county annual vehicle registration fee is equal to the state annual motor vehicle registration fee. Vice Chair for testimony.
Hawaii Transportation Association in opposition on Zoom.
I'm Tina Yamaki with the Hawaii Transportation Association, and we respectfully oppose this measure only because it is going to increase costs to not only our businesses who are going to pass it on to our customers who are the warehouses and retailers who are probably going to pass it on to the customers, making goods in Hawaii even more expensive. Mahalo.
Thank you. Tax Foundation of Hawaii with comments on Zoom. Not present. Anyone online or in person wishing to testify on HB 2022? Seeing none, Chair.
Thank you, members, any questions? Seeing none, moving on to our next agenda item before us, HB 1708, relating to traffic safety. Specifies that operating a vehicle under the influence of an intoxicant while highly intoxicated driver is a Class C felony. Outlines additional requirements for probation. Vice Chair for the testimony.
Department of Transportation in support on Zoom.
Robin again with HDOT, stand by our submitted testimony, support with some recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Oahu Metropolitan Planning Organization and support. State of Hawaii Judiciary with comments in person.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jennifer Wong, and I'm the staff attorney for the First Circuit Criminal Divisions as well as overall Judiciary Administration. The Judiciary stands on our written comments, basically just to advise the committee of the potential impacts that the bill may have on our court operations and resource requirements we may need, excuse me, we may need in the future. I would just note that increasing the penalty to a C felony demands that all of these individuals will have a jury trial, and that will be in circuit court. So it will be a big change. We need to kind of figure out how that's going to be able to be effectuated properly. I also did want to comment about our DWI court that the legislature gave additional resources to last session. And I'll be available for your questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Office of the Public Defender in opposition.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. William Bento of the Public Defender's Office. We do respectfully oppose the bill. We've outlined in our written testimony the reasons for that. I just wanted to point out a couple of things. One is that we're talking about first-time offenders to a DUI law. And I understand the number 0.15 seems scary, but there are other reasons why a person might blow into the machine or take a blood test and have that high number. It's not really a reflection on their poor driving. And as I said, these are first-time offenders. Now, previously, the legislature specifically made it so that you couldn't get a jury trial on a first-time DUI. Why? Because of the taxing that it puts on the system. Now these first-time offenders would be put into the circuit court. So that brings me to my second point that I want to make. I just so happen to be a supervising attorney in the Public Defender's Office, and I take care of the felony division with another supervisor. This morning in circuit court here in Honolulu, there were, I believe, 16 cases set for arraignment and plea. These are all different types of felony cases. Last week, Thursday, there were 29. That was due because of the shutdown on Monday, storm. But on average, every Monday and every Thursday for arraignment, we're looking at about 15 to 20 something cases that come into the system. The Public Defender's Office absorbs most of those in our felony division. Right now, we have about 30 attorneys that take care of those cases. We would be placing a large number of new felony cases into that system, and that's why we had made a request that if this moves forward, we're gonna need at least one more attorney here in Honolulu and one for each of our offices on the neighbor islands, just to handle the volume of cases. So there is a ripple effect that occurs when we change this from a misdemeanor into a felony. And I'm available for questions. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. City and County of Honolulu Department of Customer Services in support. Kauai Police Department in support. County of Hawaii Office of the Prosecuting Attorney in support on Zoom.
Hello, Chair, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hello, Chair Kila, Vice Chair Miyake, committee members, Hawaii County Prosecuting Attorney Kelvin Waldron, we stand in strong support of this bill. Highly intoxicated drivers who have a VAC greater than 0.15, which is nearly double the legal limit, pose a significant threat on our highways. According to NHTSA, in 2021, 67% of alcohol-impaired driving fatalities involved a driver with a VAC of 0.15 or higher. Driving in that level demonstrates an extreme disregard for the safety of others, and it puts everyone at risk. In consideration of the statements by those in opposition, I've submitted an HD1 for the committee's consideration. It's attached to my written testimony. The proposed amendments were previously incorporated in Companion Bill SB 2392 by the Senate Transportation Committee. It makes essentially two substantial changes. One, a graduated penalty structure. As noted by Mr. Bento in his testimony, instead of a felony for a first-time offense within 10 years, it would be a misdemeanor. A second high intox DUI would be a Class C felony. It also addresses the ambiguity related to deferred pleas and DUIs. I've also reviewed the written testimony by the judiciary, which provided data regarding the number of charges filed against highly intoxicated drivers. You know, that type of data alone shows exactly why we need to increase the penalty structure for this type of behavior. Clearly, what we're doing right now isn't working. It hasn't deterred that type of behavior. Clearly, the petty misdemeanor offense is not enough. We also support the allocation of funding for the judiciary to expand services appropriately to address those concerns. After reading and hearing testimony regarding the concerns about the First Circuit Court not having a procedure in place to review electronic and telephonic warrants, I feel for my family, my friends, and colleagues on Oahu. That is a significant concern, and it does put the public at risk. I hope the judiciary can prioritize addressing that issue soon. But that shouldn't discourage this committee from passing this bill. This bill is a step in the right direction to hold people accountable. I encourage this committee to pass this bill. Consider my proposed HD1. There's a lot of support to address this type of to address this. Look at the testimony that's been submitted on this bill, and as well as the companion SB 2392. In addition to law enforcement, prosecutors, and government agencies, we even have those from the alcohol injury industry who support this measure. This bill promotes traffic and public safety. Model for the opportunity to testify today. We submitted our written input. I'm available for.
Thank you. County of Maui, Department of the Prosecuting Attorney in support. City and County of Honolulu, Department of the Prosecuting Attorney with comments.
Good afternoon, Chair Kila, Vice Chair Miyake, and members of the committee. Daniel Hugo for the Honolulu Prosecutor's Office. We're offering comment on this bill. First of all, we should note that we support the intent of this bill. We're fully on board with the principle that these are dangerous drivers that deserve felony prosecution. As the Hawaii County Prosecutor pointed out, the vast majority of fatalities can be attributed to this cohort. And moreover, if the public defenders are worried about the clog in our courts, I think the public should be more concerned about these drivers on our roads. If there are that many drivers on our roads, would remind this committee that although the causes are still being investigated, that last year also saw a spike in fatalities on Oahu, and I think that it's time that we start taking this seriously. That said, our testimony points out that in the First Circuit, unlike on the neighbor islands, there is no reliable system in place yet for judicial, electronic, or telephonic warrants, which means that what we can anticipate on the island of Oahu is more refusals. Because oftentimes the irony is that the way that we get evidence that people are highly intoxicated on Oahu is that they've consented to a breath or blood test, whereas people who just refuse all the way down the line, we often cannot get this evidence because there is no systematic procedure for obtaining these warrants. We have had one judge in the First Circuit who went through a blood warrant, and we appreciate that judge's work, but we think that we need more of those. And so the likely effect of this bill on the island of Oahu will be higher rates of refusal. I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone online or in person wishing to testify on HB 1708?
Thank you. Prosecutor Walton.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, so I'm inclined to adopt your HD1, but could you just explain to the committee what your proposed HD1 changes from the bill as drafted?
Sure. The proposal, it makes essentially two major changes. The initial way it's drafted right now would make a first offense within 5 years a felony. The proposed amendment would be a first offense would be a misdemeanor, and the second offense would be the Class C felony. The other part that is included in there, it closes a loophole in the law regarding the deferred acceptance of no contest and guilty pleas, where it specifically addresses whether or not a DUI would be eligible for a deferral. Currently, the reason why DUI is not eligible is because it's a non-probationable offense, but it just makes it enumerates the offense and lists it within the section.
Thank you, prosecutor. Judiciary, I have a question. So with the proposed HD1, is that something you folks are more inclined?
Well, we take no position on the bill in and of itself. If it does go to a misdemeanor, it's still a jury trial.
Right.
It won't necessarily, it will depend on how many people actually demand a jury trial at that point, because they have a choice, they don't really have to go. So I would anticipate it would be a lesser impact, but we won't know until ultimately
Till
it
enacted.
happens.
And then I have a question. So given what prosecutor's office Honolulu just shared, so Oahu has not
Unfortunately, the prosecutor's office is not very, is misinformed on that, actually. We do have the capability, we have an iPad, we're ready to go. There are some issues with our partners, and they are unable to transmit those. We've done at least two pilot projects at this point, and those went totally fine and went well. Unfortunately, there's been some issues on the other side with respect to how they're getting
So
processed.
who's partners when you say,
That would be Honolulu Police Department.
and then when you say, what was the second part you just shared after partners? The pilot?
That we did pilot projects, yeah, we did a pilot project in 2020, or 2019, and then COVID. So there weren't any really going on during COVID. And then we did another pilot project, I believe it was last April, I think. And that went fine too. As I said, we have an iPad ready to go with our duty judge, just there's none that are coming over.
So who would have to initiate the request for an electronic?
Honolulu Police Department.
Okay.
They come directly from Honolulu Police Department, they don't go through the prosecutor's office.
But the HB has not exercised that?
I believe they're having some issues with their software, and then additionally, they had some issues with respect to potentially personnel changes.
Okay, I'll follow up with police chief. That's interesting. No, thank you for sharing that though. I appreciate the insight. Rep Moroka,
Judiciary.
Judiciary, sorry.
Sorry.
No worries, no worries. I just wanted for my clarity, I know you folks don't take any position on a bill. Is there a major concern about this bill overcrowded in the courts?
If it becomes a C felony, yes. As I outlined in the testimony, there are about 861 just since we started tracking the highly intoxicated drivers. It comes out to about 215 cases per year. On Oahu alone, that's like 178 cases. And then I broke it down by circuit. So yes, that would be an additional, it would be additional kind of caseload for somebody. So we may need another judge.
Get another judge, we gotta get another
Correct,
judge.
correct.
But do you not think long-term, this would be a significant deterrence?
I would hope so. I mean, personally, yeah, I would hope so.
Thank you.
Members, any further questions?
I have one more question.
Rep Moroka,
For Mr. Bento,
Office of Public Defender.
same two questions. Is your guys' biggest opposition to this bill overcrowded and extra work? Cause you also mentioned you'd have to get another judge.
Oh, well, we would need probably another attorney on each
Excuse me,
pilot,
attorney.
depending on the number of cases. That's one thing. The other thing is heightening the criminality to a Class C felony and the ramifications of that on the person who might get convicted. One of the things we didn't put into our testimony is the effect on immigration as well. Because, and I understand what you're saying about the safety of the public, and certainly, you know, we drive on the roads too, we all have families as well. But, you know, this is a crime of misjudgment, not really a crime of criminal intent, so to speak. And so, you know, the way in which we would view changing that is through education and public education and a stronger push towards others taking responsibility for people that we know might be intoxicated and keeping them off the streets. You know, by being a friend, driving them home, taking away the car keys, all of those kinds of things that can be done. Because, you know, misjudgment is something that's really hard to legislate, against. So that's the only part.
So you don't think, second question, same as the previous, you don't think this will be a significant deterrent?
Well, I think the way the law is structured now, where there are heightened penalties after the first offense, serves as a deterrent because now the person is on notice. But for the most part, you know, what we see is, you know, for people like us in this room that deal with this and work with these issues every day, we think about the ramifications because we're exposed to it and we see it. And so we think about that in our daily lives. But for a lot of people that haven't seen or been exposed to that, they don't always think about those things. And so that's why part of our testimony is, you know, community education, letting people know the ramifications of what can happen when they're driving intoxicated so they can see and start to understand and feel that that type of activity it has to be frowned upon. That to us serves a better deterrent effect than having strict laws, because if you know, just carry it out, right, the tougher the law, the more deterrence. That doesn't really work out.
Absolutely it does.
And
That's all.
thank you. Wait, your last name is Bento?
Yes.
Are you related to Snowbird Bento?
No, I don't believe so, although she has told me she thinks we might be related
I feel
far
like the
back.
folks would have to be related. She's an aunt of mine. And for public defender, I know you folks have a position, right? You folks obviously have to take some of these positions. But I am inclined to adopt the HD1, and just for the committee's awareness, with the HD1, there is a mandatory 10-day sentencing or holding, which I think in itself, should we move forward and adopt, may itself actually serve as a really strong deterrent. 10 days is missing work, 10 days is missing scheduled things that you plan. Because this issue continues to happen because obviously folks aren't learning. So if knowing that we will move that HD1, if the next committee maybe seeing if there's a way that can get to a consensus of agreement. So thank you, Mr. Bento. DOT, I have a question.
Sure.
Robin, so when we move this out from this committee, can DOT work with the county police departments to testify on this to see what their positions may be, and if you folks can specifically work with Honolulu to the PD to comment in judiciary on where they are at with the issuing of the electronic warrants as it relates to the refusals for collections at BACs. I would be curious if that's possible, please. If you guys
Okay,
can
well-
have for the next committee. Members, any further questions? Seeing none, move on to our next agenda item before us relating to HB 2154 relating to traffic safety, establishes a framework for the use of
Sorry,
intelligent.
Chair. 2086.
Oh, Calamansi. HB 2086 relating to highway safety amends the offense of negligent injury in the first degree to include injuries negligently inflicted by intoxicated drivers. Vice Chair for testimony.
Department of Transportation and Support.
Robin again, HDOT stands by our submitted testimony and strong support. Thank you.
Thank you. Oahu Metropolitan Planning Organization and Support. County of Hawaii Police Department and Support. County of Hawaii Office of the Prosecuting Attorney and Support. County of Maui Department of the Prosecuting Attorney and Support. City and County of Honolulu Department of the Prosecuting Attorney and Support.
Good morning, Chair Kila, Vice Chair Miyake, members of the committee, Daniel Hugo for the Honolulu Prosecutor's Office, and we stand in strong support of this bill. I will just note that we appreciate the support from the Maui Prosecutor's Office. However, we would recommend against the HD1 that was attached. We believe that the current scheme or the current drafting of the bill, which would allow negligent injury to remain a lesser included offense of negligent homicide, will mean that in negligent homicide cases, there's a likelihood that somebody will get a conviction as opposed to completely walking. The OVUII statute has its pros and cons, but we don't believe that it should be melded with the negligent homicide and negligent injury statutes, which are a completely separate statutory scheme. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone online or in person wishing to testify on HB 2086? Seeing none, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Seeing none, we can move on to our next agenda item, HB 2154, related to traffic safety, establishes a framework for the use of intelligent speed assistant technology for habitual speeders, requires a report to the legislature. Vice Chair for testimony.
Department of Transportation in support.
Yep, Ron again from HDOT, stand by, submit testimony in support.
Thank you. Oahu Metropolitan Planning Organization in support. County of Kauai Police Department in support. Smart Start LLC in support. Alliance for Automobile Innovation with comments.
Sure, we stand on a written testimony with comments and support and offer proposed amendments. Thank you.
Thank you. AAA Hawaii in support. Chad Taniguchi in support on Zoom.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. As a person who bikes a lot and really support this because, as you guys all know, people can't control their speed. A minority of people can't control their speed. So those people who can't, let's put in a device that doesn't allow them to accelerate beyond the speed limit. And there are other people who have lost family members to speed and traffic violence. They're not testifying right now, but I'm working to get them to the point where they will testify. They want to testify. It's just a matter of making the time for the legislative process. So thank you to all the people who testified, and thanks to this committee for passing this out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taniguchi. Anyone online or in person wishing to testify on HB 2154? Seeing none, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Seeing none, I'd like to move on to our next agenda item before us, HB 2027, related to transportation. Prohibits vehicles from driving on the shoulder of a roadway except in certain circumstances. Authorizes the Department of Transportation and County Police Departments to impound vehicles with expired registrations of 3 years or more. Seize and dispose of vehicles with expired registration of 5 years or more under certain conditions. Requires annual reporting to the legislature. Increases the fine for amount for owners out of state motor vehicles who fail to register a vehicle in the state. Establishes minimum statutory penalties for violations relating to the use of high occupancy vehicle lanes. Vice Chair for testimony.
Department of Transportation in support.
Yep, Robin with HDOT, stand by, written testimony in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney General's Office with comments.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Keela, Vice Chair Miyake, and members of the committee. Michael Moriyama, Deputy Attorney General. The Department of the Attorney General has several concerns regarding the specific process of impounding and seizing unregistered vehicles and the related issues of constitutionality, both of which could affect the enforcement of the bill as currently drafted. So currently the bill treats impoundment of vehicles differently from the seizure of vehicles. The department feels that the distinction between impoundment and seizure is unnecessary and recommends that the distinction be eliminated and the bill be amended to allow for the impoundment of vehicles. To address the issues of how a vehicle is to be impounded, the department recommends that once a vehicle's registration status is verified by the appropriate government agency, a law enforcement officer can then order the vehicle to be towed pursuant to HRS 29011. And HRS 29011B through I provides a specific process as to how vehicles are to be towed, specific towing and storage charges that can be assessed, how notice of impoundment and towing will be made and to who the notice will be provided, how vehicles can be recovered by the owners, and how unclaimed vehicles can be disposed of. Impounding and the subsequent towing of vehicles done pursuant to HRS 29011 addresses the constitutional issues of adequate and proper notice, due process, and the government taking of private property. Thank you very much for the opportunity to testify, and I'm available for questions.
And I wanna thank you for not just opposing the bill and not giving us a solution and path forward, so thank you to the department for helping us find a path forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
State of Hawaii Judiciary with comments. City and County of Honolulu Department of Customer Services with comments. And one individual with comments. Anyone online or in person wishing to testify on HB 2027?
Members, any questions?
Question Chair.
Rep. Chica?
For Department of Transportation, please. Computer is
Hi, good
still-
morning.
What is the current process right now for what the department can do in terms of enforcing this on expired registrations?
I mean, it's only at the PMBI where we have, I mean, we don't have any folks going out there, you know, but it's something we would work with the PDs and DLE to go and enforce.
Is this data that the department currently collects? Like how much we could be, I guess, collecting in terms of penalties or fines?
Yeah, I think we do have records. We can get it from the DMVs on, you know, expired registration.
But right now, the department does not have the authority to impound vehicles for
No,
expired registration.
no,
Not yet.
Okay,
not,
okay.
not that I'm aware of.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Director.
Okay.
Anything else? Members, any other questions? Thank you, Deputy. Seeing none, I can move on to our next agenda item before us, HB 2025, relating to law enforcement prohibits digital navigation applications from providing an alert, indication, or other type of notice of the for the user's presence of law enforcement personnel or law enforcement operation at a specific location. Vice Chair for testimony.
Attorney General's Office with comments.
Good morning, Chair Keeler, members of the committee. My name is Melina Sanchez. I'm a Deputy Attorney General providing comments for HB 2025. The department has two concerns regarding this bill. The first concern is that this bill raises First Amendment concerns under both the US and Hawaii Constitution because the court may find that it regulates speech based on its content. The content that this bill is trying to regulate is prohibiting alerts specifically for law enforcement presence. Although it appears that the purpose of the bill is to prevent evasion or interference with law enforcement activities, it is not clear if prohibiting alerts specifically to their presence would be narrowly tailored or the least restrictive means to achieve that purpose. Second is the enforcement of this bill. It would be a significant challenge because alerts are generated in real time and may be based on users' generated reports or automated data inputs. So monitoring compliance and identifying violators would be administratively challenging. Given these constitutional and practical concerns, the department respectfully recommends that the committee hold this bill. Thank you for the opportunity to testify and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. We got one individual in opposition. Anyone online or in person wishing to testify on HB 2025? Seeing none.
Members, any questions? I just wanna ask the AGs if you guys can, you don't, it's not a question. Can you just stay for decision making and then, thank you. Okay, moving on to our next agenda item before us, HB 1620 relating to energy increases environmental response energy and food security tax in the amount collected from that tax and is deposited into electrical vehicle charging system subaccount, transfers funds from the hydrogen fueling system subaccount to the electric vehicle charging system subaccount effective 7/1/3000. Vice Chair for testimony.
Department of Taxation with comments. Thank you. Attorney General's Office with comments.
Good morning, Chair Keela and members of the committee. My name is Janine Dewey. I'm a Deputy Attorney General on behalf of the Department of the Attorney General. The department noted a potential issue in Section 3 of this bill, which transfers funds between sub-accounts within the same special fund, but doesn't identify which agency will execute the transfer or the date when the movement of money is to occur. The department has suggested amendments that will address the issue. Thank you. I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Public Utilities Commission and support.
Yes, morning Chair, Vice Chair.
Thank you. Hawaii State Energy Office with comments.
Chris Schenker for the Hawaii State Energy Office. We stand on our written testimony, providing comments, and are available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Tax Foundation of Hawaii with comments.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Tom Yamachika from Tax Foundation. We have some concerns from a technical perspective, as well as a policy perspective. We note that the bill imposes this tax on petroleum products, but it does not impose the same increase on non-petroleum fossil fuels, which is a different subsection of that particular section. We have concerns generally with earmarking tax revenues for special funds because that leaves the legislature less in control of how those funds are deployed. And I believe the electorate is relying on the legislature to make those tough decisions and not have them done for you by special funds. We also are concerned that there are blanks in the bill for important pieces of data, and we would recommend that those be filled in before this bill is moved forward, if it's being moved forward. Happy to answer your questions. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Carbon Cashback Hawaii in support. Kauai Climate Action Coalition in support. Earth Justice in support. Not present. Our Children's Trust in support.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Duration with Our Children's Trust in strong support of HB 1620. As I shared with this committee before, we are one of the organizations that was behind the Navahine settlement. Because the Navahine settlement is court enforced, the legislature now shares responsibility for ensuring that Hawaii meets its legally blinding climate obligations. This bill addresses one of the most significant barriers to electric vehicle adoption, which is the lack of accessible, affordable, and reliable charging infrastructure. Electric vehicle ownership is significantly cheaper. It offers substantial savings, and transportation is one of the largest household expenses for Hawaii families. And families that aren't able to drive electric can't access those savings. And one of those barriers is because of the lack of reliable charging infrastructure, especially for families who do not live in single family homes. So those are some of the reasons we strongly support this bill, and we appreciate you considering our testimony.
Thank you. 350 Hawaii in support. Climate Protectors Hawaii in support. Hawaii EV Association in support. Grassroots Institute in opposition. We also received 22 testimonies by individuals in support. Anyone online or in person wishing to testify on HB 1620?
Aloha, I'm Marty Townsend with Earth Justice, here to offer our testimony in support. I have a written testimony. We think this is an excellent opportunity to help Hawaii catch up in terms of improving our EV charging infrastructure. And we can continue to improve the bill as it moves through the legislative process. We just ask you all to keep the conversation going because we have a lot of work to do to get us off of fossil fuels. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else online or in person wishing to testify on HB 1620 HD1?
Thank you. Members, any questions? Thank you. Next, last agenda item, HB 2179, relating to transportation, requires rather than authorizes the Department of Education to develop and administer a traffic safety program, requires the Department of Education traffic safety education program to include electric bicycles, effective 7/1/3000. Vice Chair for testimony.
Department of Education with comments. Not present. Department of Health with comments.
We stand by our written testimony available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Hawaii Bicycling League in support. Hawaii chapter of the American College of Emergency Physicians in support. Hawaii Path in support. Jonathan Lott, individual in support.
As a former teacher and car-free pedestrian and cyclist and transit user, I see the Wild West with these kids that don't really know the rules of the road. And I think if the state can align with the city and county, and enforcement can begin. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Lott. We received 13 individual in support, testimonies from 13 individuals in support and 1 in opposition. Anyone online or in person wishing to testify on HB 2179 HD1? Seeing none, Chair.
Members, any questions? Okay, members like to recess. Thank you, members. Okay, I wanna start with our first 9:15 AM agenda. We'll vote these measures out that were previously heard last week. So members sorry. This is the wrong one. Pass me yours one.
This is
HB 1884, I'd like to adopt the HD one for this one. I wanna adopt DOT's recommended testimony, and because their testimony doesn't require technically an appropriation, I'd like to delete the appropriation reference in HB 1884. I request that HMSO will defect the effective date and tech amendments for clarity, consistency, and style. Members, any comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
voting on HB 1884, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Cochran is excused. Representative Ebslin.
Aye.
Representative Grandinetti.
Aye.
Representative Kitagawa.
Aye.
Representative Lachika.
Aye.
Representative Muraoka.
Aye.
Representative Herrick is excused. The recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. On our next one, HB 1523, I'd like to adopt the HD one for this one and have HMSO defect the effective date. Members, any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 1523, the recommendation is to pass with amendments, noting the excused absence of Representative Cochran and Representative Herrick. Any reservations? Reservations for Representative Muraoka, any no votes? The recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. HB 2186 relating to pedestrian safety, same thing, adopt the HD one, defect the effective date. Members, questions, comments, or concerns?
Voting on HB 2186, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Any reservations? Any no votes? The recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Okay, members, moving on to our 9:30 AM agenda. I will start with HB 2347 relating to vehicle safety. Members, for this, I'd like to adopt the HD one, and for this, I'm gonna make several changes. I wanna authorize that DOT shall implement a pilot program with one participating operator each county on each island. Authorize the department to appoint up to 3 inspectors to support the pilot program. Include a mandatory sunset 4 years after the effective date unless extended or repealed by legislation. Establish the effective date of 120 days after enactment or upon approval if an earlier effective date is desired. HMSO defect the effective date and then tech amendments for clarity, consistency, and style. Clarify that this is applicable only for passenger cars, and also add that DOT can raise the price for the purpose of a mobile vehicle inspection. Members, questions, comments, or concerns? Vice Chair for the vote, please.
Voting on HB 2347, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Any reservations? Reservations for Rep. Muraoka, any no votes? Seeing none, the recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. HB 1882 related to motor vehicles, I'd like to adopt an HD one for this one. Add a conforming amendment to 291-36, HMSO defect the effective date, and it sets the effective date of 1 year after the date of enactment. I know DOT has concerns, and I actually am a strong supporter of our safety check system, but I think this is a good conversation to have, and if the next committee should choose so. Members, questions, comments, or concerns? Vice Chair for the vote, please.
Voting on HB 1882, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Any reservations? Any no votes? Seeing none, the recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. For our next one, HB 2022, relating to motor vehicle registration, I'd like to adopt an HD one. So I wanna clarify for this one that any county imposed vehicle registration or weight tax shall not exceed the amount of the comparable state weight tax. Requires each county to submit an annual report to the legislature detailing the revenues collected under this section, the current fund balances and expenditures made from those funds. Requires that not less than 30% of county revenues collected under this section be expended for roadway repair or maintenance. HMSO defect the effective date, tech amendments for clarity, consistency, and style. Members, questions, comments, or concerns? So I just wanna add, the reason I introduced this measure was over the interim, I had asked DOT to work with the counties on providing the information of their revenues. This is collected at the registration and tax. And for full transparency, I was not satisfied with one of the county's submittals where there was no clear expenditure for the purpose of repair and maintenance, and they floated 54% of their collection to debt service for infrastructure projects. And I understand the need to expand, but my biggest complaint that our office receives every day is the status of roads that particularly are county roads. And other than that, I think most counties can justify their expenses, but I think for the sake of understanding that we, the legislature, allow the taxation, I think there needs to be some reporting and also some accountability to how that is expended. So that is the reason I made those several different amendments. Any other further questions, comments, concerns? Okay, Vice Chair for the vote, please.
Voting on HB 2022, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Any reservations? Any no votes? Seeing none, Chair, the recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. HB 1708 related to traffic safety. I want to thank a prosecutor for proposing the measure. We actually worked on it. But given the loads that was introduced, I had asked Representative Kyo Kapuliloy to introduce it, and I thought it was appropriate given the incident where a doctor had died this holiday season on Hawaii Island, that they could take up a measure like this. I think, as I said in our line of questioning, this continues to be a problem in our communities, and I don't even think it's a secret that both myself and Rep. Moroka, for as much as our community witnesses some tragic events, they still continue to break the law. And I applaud the different folks of trying to find a different path forward to make this more effective, because obviously what we're doing, people still don't care. So for that, for HB 1708, I wanna just adopt the proposed HD1 that was put forth by Hawaii Island Prosecutor Walton, tech amendments for clarity, consistency, and style, and HMSO the effective date. Members, questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote, please.
Voting on HB 1708, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Any reservations? Any no votes? The recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. HB 2086 relating to highway safety. I would like to adopt the HD1. I was going to adopt Maui County's testimony, but given the prosecutor's concerns, I will leave it as so. And HMSO the effective date, tech amendments for clarity, consistency, and style. And I want to thank the prosecutor for trying to put forth measures to continue to make our roads safer. And this is something I believe, should we get to the finish line, we could have a significant impact on public. Members, questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote, please.
Voting on HB 2086, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Any reservations? Any no votes? The recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. HB 2154 related to traffic safety. I'd like to adopt the HD1 tech amendments for clarity, consistency, and style. Adopt the requested amendments put forth by Smart Start, San High, and AAA. HMSO the effective date. This is similar to another measure we had heard previously in the committee, but also different in nature, but I think can subsequently marry and make the other bill we passed that much more effective. So that is my recommendation. Members, questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote, please.
Voting on HB 2154, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Any reservations? Any no votes? The recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. HB 2027 related to transportation. This is one of the omnibus bills that we worked with DOT to put forth, obviously because they were limited, but also as we talked over the interim, the different things that we face. So if I can go through different parts of the bill. The need for the prohibiting of vehicles driving on the shoulder of a roadway. DOT sets the rulemaking for this measure, but it's not necessarily carved out. Our shoulder lanes are meant for the purpose of morning traffic and afternoon traffic to add another lane, but other than that, it's for emergencies only. Unfortunately, folks have often break this law. So this would codify an offense for that. For the purpose of DOT and county police departments to impound vehicles expired registrations, I want to thank the Attorney Generals for putting forth comments and recommendations and finding a way for us to see this bill forward. In order for the effectiveness of, I think, not just registration, but our safety light programs that we've implemented, it is imperative upon registration to be enforced. So in the same way that I'm authorizing or putting forth this bill, I'm also capping forth the registration costs that we had just adopted in a previous measure. I think when you look at all the folks that, I can understand 1 year, I can understand 2 years, but there are oftentimes you're seeing several years. And most people are compliant with the program of vehicle registration, but I think our worst fear scenario that has occurred is that you get into an accident or somebody does a hit and run and the vehicle has expired registration, those information is no longer relevant, thus making it that much harder to locate the individual that committed that offense or potential crime. So that is also my reason for asking DOT to have the authority to move this forward, because again, for these things to work, we have to put some teeth behind it. The increasing of the out-of-state vehicle fines, so we're adding a new section, is actually not written in HRS as we found out in the interim. As you see a proliferation of out-of-state vehicles that come into our state, if we're asking folks to register their vehicles, I look at those cars as not being compliant with our systems. There is a process for you to receive an out-of-state vehicle permit, but folks are obviously not following that law. So putting this forward would allow us to codify a way for the police department to start finding these folks accordingly. And establishing the minimum statutory penalties for HOV, we currently have it at a maximum of $250. I will be making the minimum $250. In order for these systems, I think, to work the way they are intended, the fines also have to match that as well. California's minimum fine for HOV violation is $350, so I definitely feel like $250 is not out of the committee scope. So with that, members like to adopt the HD1. For this one, I wanna authorize any enforcement to be done by a law enforcement officer, DOT, and approve any law enforcement officer, DOT, any approved person, contractor, or government agency designed to carry out towing enforcement as this statute carves out. I wanna incorporate the amendments requested by the Department of Attorney General. For section 286-61, establish a minimum fine of $500 and a maximum fine of $1,000. For the section 1, a minimum fine of $250 and a maximum of $1,000. And the violation for the improper shoulder use shall be applicable in a period of 5 years, not 1. And then just clarifying the minimum fine for HOV violation is $250. And then the maximum, we can blank out and leave determined for further discussion. Members, questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair, Rep. Evelyn.
Just a quick comment, Chair. I appreciate this measure, I appreciate the work that you're doing, I appreciate the need for more and better enforcement. But I will say, as a neighbor island driver who is largely, didn't grow up driving on highways in Honolulu, it can get very confusing knowing when you are allowed to go in these various lanes, including the carpool lanes. I do the drive from the airport to the Capitol very regularly, and there's a carpool lane there and a shoulder lane there. I see people sort of arbitrarily using both, and I got no idea what's going on. So my only request is, going forward, if this is to pass into law and there is more enforcement, to maybe ensure like just really adequate or better signage around these areas to help those neighbor island drivers like me know what's going on. Just 250.
Neighbor island and our rural communities that are visiting as well, and even I think our out-of-state visitors. So if I could just request then in the committee report for DOT to consider better signage as this discussion moves forward, the next committee, Judiciary. But I agree, I would definitely welcome more signage, so I take your point very much so. Members, any other questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote, please.
Voting on HB 2027, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Any reservations? Any no votes? The recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. HB 2025 relating to law enforcement. I appreciate the Attorney General's comments. I put this bill forward because I think as we talk about traffic safety, is imperative upon law enforcement being able to carry out their job without the purposes of obviously being alerted where these folks are. I don't want this to conflict with federal things that you're seeing. My intent is that when we have DUI checkpoints, when we have law enforcement officers doing enforcement, I think it is imperative upon the effectiveness of that program to operate under a guise of, I don't wanna say some being hidden, but I think it plays into it because it's not just on social media you see this occur where folks are tipping people off. There used to be this proliferation of Facebook pages for people to tell folks where different law enforcement people were at. There are apps that tell you where they are and you can pretty much avoid detection. That's not the intent, I'm just trying to find a way to make it better. So my my recommendation is I'm gonna defer this measure, but I would just ask the Attorney General's office if there's a path forward that we can find in the interim of this discussion to find a way for us not to violate the Constitution, but still give safeguards and protections to our law enforcement officers to carry out their jobs effectively. So that is my recommendation. Members, questions, comments, concerns? Okay, moving on to our next agenda item, HB 1620 relating to energy. Members like to adopt the HD2 for this measure. I'm gonna, obviously still in the effective date, but I'm gonna incorporate the amendments as put forth by the Attorney General. HD2 1620. Members, questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 1620 HD1, the recommendation is to pass with amendment.
Oh, sorry, I just need to clarify, I did get, sorry, thank you. I did get prior concurrence for the amendments. Sorry.
Sorry, Chair. Voting on HB 1620 HD1, the recommendation is to pass with amendments, noting the presence of Representative Pierick. Are there any reservation?
No.
No. No vote for Representative. Any no votes? No votes for Representative Muraoka and Representative Pierick. The recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. HB 2179 related to transportation. I want to adopt the HD2 for tech amendments, clarity, consistency, and style. And note in the committee report the requested amendment by HBL. I did not get prior concurrence. I unfortunately did not have time to reach out to the first committee. So for that, I just want to note the requested potential legislation. I'm sorry, the noted amendment in the committee report for further deliberation by the next committee. Members, questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 2179 HD1, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes for Representative Pierick. The recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Our last committee hearing for first lateral is this Thursday. If you have not already, please submit your testimony. And I'll see you folks then. No further business. Our committee is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.